Okay, guys, we're back and we are into one here. We're in the middle of a build, and the same guy whose motor we're working on, he sent a second motor, and we're actually going to do the build simultaneously. The first one is at the machine shop, and this one here we got to get it tore apart and get it to the machine shop. So as you can see, we got parts in the first motor sitting there. The cams and lifters are underneath that being protected there, so that's going to have to get all boxed up and labeled and set aside. And then we got a transmission here we got to do, and that's going to be set aside because we're going to need our workbench to work on this thing, and that'll be something that we take care of in the next episode. We also have engine parts sitting there. We got the oil pan cleaned up. We got some cleaning supplies. We got exhaust manifolds and everything. So all that stuff is it's waiting to go in the first motor. So it's just set off to the side right now. But we're going to be cleaning things up, like I said, and organizing. But we're going to do a tear down on this motor, and so we're going to go over it just to get an overview and see kind of what we have to work with. Okay. So the first thing I notice is one of the grommets is gone from the IDI cover, the ignition cover, and that means somebody's been in there. Not surprised. These things they come loose over time. You know, whenever you pull this apart, they often they'll come loose, and then you end up losing one. So somebody's had the motor apart, at least this off of it, probably to put plugs in it or something. So let's continue to look. Looks real clean. I guess the guy who sent this, he sprays it down with oven cleaner, waits about 10 minutes, and it hits it with a pressure washer. Does that about 3 or 4 times, and it's actually really, really clean. If you're used to seeing these things come out of motors, come out of cars rather, they are absolutely filthy when they come out. But this in here doesn't look too bad. So already took the alternator off, also took the AC compressor off, removed the belt. The idler seems pretty decent. It's running pretty smooth. Got the damper on there. Looking here, it's hard to tell whether this has come off. Sometimes you can see if it's been shifted a little bit, but I don't really see any evidence that that's been off. But let's go around here. Doesn't look like the EGR valve has come off, has been taken off, although there's an intake bolt missing here, so that may be something. And let's take a look over here. You can see we got some gouges in here in the water inlet. Somebody had a screwdriver in there probably to pop one of the hoses off. We also got a little bit of silicone right here. Looks like a little dab of silicone right there around where this air tube comes in, the air bleed tube. So this has been off. We know that. Somebody's been playing with that. And it looks like there's some indentations in the head. I don't know if that's just maybe something bumped into that, or that was marked whenever they pulled the motor out. Not really sure, but there's a few things in there, almost as if somebody was bumping that with a hammer to pull the head off. So I don't know if the head's been off. We'll be able to tell probably once we get it all apart. Right, let's continue to look here. Let's go down and look at the oil plug here. This almost looks like a new plug, but I think it's a factory one. Let's take a look here. That could, yeah, that's an aftermarket. Whoop, get it up in the screen here. Okay, yeah, that's an aftermarket plug. All the factory ones, they come with a magnet on the end of them. There's a little bit of water on that, a little moisture, probably from whenever it was pressure washed. Let's put that back. So it's hard to tell what went on there. But if we look up here on the exhaust manifold bolts, I would say the water pump was probably, well, first let's look here. The water pump was probably replaced because we got a regular hose clamp here, and on the water pump we have marks on the nuts as if somebody was on there pulling that apart. Sometimes gaskets that aren't the factory gaskets will squeeze out, or people will put silicone on these. That's a dead giveaway. You don't have to, but sometimes people do. I have. But if we look up here on the exhaust manifold, there's also some indications there could have possibly been a socket on here to pull this apart. I'm not really sure. Let's look at the other ones here. Yeah, right on the corners. Let's see if I can get a good shot of it here. One more time. Yeah, right in the corners you can see right there, right here. Looks like somebody was tightening those down or loosening them up. You know, somebody had a socket on there. So in order to change the water pump on these, you have to remove the exhaust manifold. So that kind of tells me the water pump's probably been replaced. And is there anything else? Let's see if we can see any evidence that the timing cover has been removed. Looks like a factory gasket. All the aftermarket gaskets I've ever seen, they're blue. All the Felper ones are blue. That kind of looks like a factory gasket. A lot of people reuse those though. Like I said, it doesn't look like this has been messed with. So it may be an original timing chain, but I don't think the bottom end's been tore apart or anything like that. But definitely has a new oil drain plug in it. So let's see what's. It looks like the factory gasket in there. It's like an aluminum gasket with a silicone bead on the inside. Doesn't look like that's doesn't look like that's been messed with or anything. It's still sealing really well. So yeah, nothing really to see in there. And yeah, let's see if these bolts, they have like a black oxide on them, and if they've been messed with, a lot of times you'll see where the socket has been on them, and kind of, you know, from the socket given, you know, there's a little bit of play in it. A lot of times you'll see marks in these bolts. Let's get a good look at those. And those don't look like they've been messed with at all. Same way with these ones here. Now this isn't the cam tower bolt, but it doesn't look like this has been moved. It doesn't look like anybody's been in this at all, you know, with the socket or anything. But we'll find out. Let's take another look at one of these bolts. No, that looks pretty clean. So it doesn't look like the cams have been off of it or anything like that. So I was kind of worried that this might have had like a blown head gasket in the past or something, but it doesn't look like it's been apart that way. Looks like just superficial stuff. Looks like maybe the water outlet has been changed, or water inlet. I guess that'd be the water inlet. Looks like that's been changed, or at least this has been taken apart. Maybe somebody was looking for the thermostat. The thermostat in these are down below. They're actually down here, and right below. Get that down here. There we go. Down below here, where the water pump housing meets up with the crossover tube that goes down underneath the oil pan towards the radiator. So yeah, it doesn't really look like it's been apart though. So maybe there was just a leak up here, and somebody had this off, or maybe they had sprung a little bit of a leak here and pulled that tube out. Let's take a look at that bolt right there. And it's hard to tell on that one whether it's been apart. There's a couple shiny spots on. I don't know if the camera's picking this up, but right, I can see them right there. There's a couple shiny spots. So there, that might have been apart. So most likely that was apart, or they took you know, these bolts out and pulled this out and then pushed it back in, shoved this in. So no evidence of leaks anywhere really. It's pretty clean. This all looks pretty factory. Doesn't look like that's been off, except for this is where the power steering unit comes or hooks on. There's a hex drive right there that drives a power steering pump. There's a little bit, almost looks like silicone there. That's common whenever you pull those off. They'll always leave a little bit of stuff on there. So yeah, we're going to do a tear down, see what we can find. Hopefully this is going to come apart really good, and everything will check out. And we have a specialty tool that we're going to use. This will keep the balance shafts in time while we tear it apart. And yeah, join in for the next episode, and we'll start with the ignition cover, and maybe try and get the intake manifold off, maybe everything on the front of the motor. Then we'll spin it around and take care of everything on the back. And eventually we're going to tear it all the way down. We'll get a good look at the inside. We're going to look at the bearings, see what they look like, and look at the timing chain, see how much wears on that, if any, and just kind of be like detectives, trying to figure out, the history of this motor, or some of the history of this motor. Thanks for watching. Go ahead and like and subscribe.